Absolute trash. Worst of the worst. Hot garbage. Not Star Trek. It's terrible. Woke. These are just some of the comments people left on my reviews of the Star Trek Starfleet Academy series in recent weeks. And I just can't agree with any of them. Hello and welcome back to the channel. And today we are diving into the first season of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. To me, this was a near perfect first season of Star Trek. It is as great as the first season of Strange New Worlds and the Lower Decks complete run. I mean, Lower Decks was an absolute love letter to the franchise, as was at least the first season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Academy has an entirely different target audience as these two shows, and that's a good thing. We need more younger fans in the franchise, and not just a bunch of middle-aged and older people who still cannot quite get over their more rose-colored views of the shows of 30 years ago. Starfleet Academy is targeted at Gen Z, with half of the cast being of that generation. And they are supported by a stable of more veteran and near-legendary actors. They bridge the gap just brilliantly in this show. But let's go through it step by step. The show is set in the same far future that the Discovery found itself in for the latter half of its run. About 100 years after the burn, Starfleet reestablishes the Academy on Earth. We follow the first class of cadets on the starship Athena, which is both starship and Academy at the same time. And from that point on, hilarity ensues. The cast. As I said, it's a mix of young and sometimes first-time actors with older, more established actors. For instance, Tig Notaro comes back as Jed Reno from Discovery. The Doctor's still around after 800 years. I mean, he's a hologram, so obviously he would be around. And he's still played by Robert Picardo. And they even have a explanation for why he's looking older now. Holly Hunter is the captain/chancellor of the Athena and is great. And the main villain of the show is the legendary Paul Giamatti. I cannot overstate how big a deal Paul Giamatti is in this show. The fun and glee he seemingly had on set comes through in every scene he's in. He's not in every episode, but he shines whenever he is on screen. And it was an absolute fantastic stroke of luck to get him for this show. To me, there's not a single misfire in the cast. Nobody that needs replacing in future seasons. What didn't work? Not a lot, at least for me. If you can accept the premise as is, you can have a lot of fun with the show. If anything, if I had to name anything, probably the ensemble was a bit too big for just 10 episodes, which meant that some of the characters didn't get the screen time they maybe deserved. Lura Thok, the half Klingon, half Jem'Hadar instructor, for instance, and even some of the core cast, the cadets, faded a little bit into the background in later episodes, namely Kyle and Terima's brother. There were a few minor nitpicks throughout the episodes, like for instance, in the first couple of episodes, why did Starfleet negotiate with Beta Z about them rejoining the Federation, and not anybody diplomatically trained from the Federation Council? These nitpicks were far and few between, so I just enjoyed the show for what it was. What did work? Quite a lot. I loved the season. It was only 10 episodes, but to me there was not a single really bad episode among them. And there were quite a few shining moments. The tribute to Cisco, the events on the Miyazaki, the finale, the aftermath of the events on the Miyazaki, how they dealt with that. Tilly coming to the Academy for one episode. Reno and Lura Thok as a couple. The quirkiness of Chancellor Aki. It seemed in the first couple of episodes that Caleb was the main character. I mean, he was, but he was bordering on cliche. He was bordering on being a trope. But they dialed it down quite a bit in the middle episodes before putting his story front and center back again in the finale. But in the other episodes, they gave other cadets, other characters, their time to shine. Be it Genesis, be it Daram, Jaden, Terima even, and that was a really good thing. Now, this is quite a point of contention among the fans, the callbacks to earlier stuff. I thought they did it decently enough and not overdid it, They had the Doctor back, they had people from Discovery, but they dealt with the Klingons, with Beta Z. They had a wall of names from the earlier shows somewhere in the Academy. In my mind, they didn't overdo it. That was just sprinkled in here and there. I could probably go on for a whole other video about all the details I liked on this show. Overall, it worked for me. So where do we rank it in the pantheon of Star Trek shows? We have two distinct eras of Star Trek shows. Number one is the old shows up to and including Star Trek Enterprise, which ended its run in 2006. The second era is New Trek, which started with the movie from J.J. Abrams in 2009. So let's look at New Trek, and there you have 6 different shows. That is Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Picard, Star Trek Prodigy, and now Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I haven't seen the full run of Star Trek Prodigy yet, so I won't be ranking that anywhere. But of the remaining 4 shows outside of Starfleet Academy, there's 2, let's say, lesser shows that are Discovery and Picard, and 2 basically shining beacons of this new era, that's Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. Academy ranks up there with Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks, just maybe half a step below them, but is a firm 3rd place in the new era of Trek. If we bring in the old shows, you have the same pattern there. You have something in the middle ground, which is the original show of Kirk and Spock from the 60s. You have the 2 absolute shining beacons of that era, which is Deep Space Nine and Star Trek The Next Generation. They were the defining TV shows of my teenage years. And you have the lesser shows of that run, which is Voyager and then Enterprise. We as fans like to rank things, so here's the ranking. Up top, you have Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Strange New Worlds, and Lower Decks. Then it's the original series and Starfleet Academy, and then you have the 4 lesser shows, which are Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, and Picard. Let me know in the comments, where do you rank Starfleet Academy, this first season at least, among all the other shows? So there you have it. The first season of Star Trek Starfleet Academy was brilliant in my mind. So I've said it in other videos, I've been on a bit of a drawing kick lately. That's a bit of my hyper-focus for the past 3-4 months. And this show actually inspired a few of my drawings and paintings, especially these 2, which are modeled after the uniforms of the Doctor and Jet Reno in Star Trek Starfleet Academy. And yeah, I just wanted to show them off. I also did a few Voyager uniforms, as well as Badgie from Star Trek Lower Decks. This was my review of the first season of Starfleet Academy. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of the season? Keep it civil, please. So stay subscribed for more Star Trek content in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.